I was standing in the kitchen doorway. The light was on over the sink. It was 2:17 a.m. I wasn't supposed to be there. They didn't hear me. I could have turned around. I could have walked back out the door, got in my car, and driven away. No one would ever have known I was there. I didn't. I just stood there. And everything that came after, every single thing that broke, all of it started right then. For 12 years, he was my best friend. We met in 10th grade shop class. He took the blame for me when I set fire to the workbench. I drove 3 hours to pick him up from his first divorce. He was best man at my wedding. I am godfather to his daughter. There was a time I would have taken a bullet for that man. I used to say there was nothing on this earth that could come between us. I meant it. 6 months before that night, his wife lost her job. They fell 3 months behind on the mortgage. He didn't tell anyone else. Only me. He called me crying at 1 a.m. one Tuesday, said he didn't know how he was going to keep a roof over his kid's head. I told him not to worry. I went to the bank the next morning. I took out $20,000, every penny I had saved. I handed it to him in an envelope in the parking lot of the grocery store. I told him he never had to pay me back. He hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. He said nobody else in the world would have done that. For 3 months after that, everything was exactly the same. We had pizza every Friday. We yelled at the football game. We complained about our wives and our bosses. Then little things started to feel off. At first they were so small, you could barely see them. He canceled Pizza Friday. Then he canceled again. He stopped answering his phone after 9 p.m. I told myself he was stressed. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself good friends don't keep score. One afternoon I was at the mall. I saw his wife. She was carrying a bag from the store on the top floor, the one where the cheapest thing they sell is $800. She saw me before I could turn away. She smiled, said it was a birthday present from her sister. I nodded. I said that was nice. I didn't say anything, but her sister was on food stamps, and her birthday was 7 months ago. That night I laid in bed next to my wife, and I stared at the ceiling. I called myself every name I could think of. You don't think that way about people who love you. You don't doubt the people who would die for you. I promised myself I would never, ever mention it. 2 weeks later he called me, asked if I could pick him up from the bar. He was too drunk to drive. I got there. He was sitting alone in a booth. He looked up at me, and he said something I will never forget. You know you're the only person I can trust. I sat down across from him, and for the first time in 12 years I looked at him and I did not recognize him. I still didn't say anything. I still wanted to believe him. That's the part nobody tells you about betrayal. It doesn't hit you all at once. It seeps in one tiny drop at a time. I started checking his Instagram when I woke up in the middle of the night. I saw a picture of them at a beach resort 2 hours away, posted 3 days before. He told me he was at a mandatory work training. I drove past his house once at 10 p.m. All the lights were off. His truck wasn't in the driveway. I told my wife I was going for a drive. I drove around for an hour and a half. I didn't tell her why. You become a liar too. That's the worst trick. Once you start suspecting someone, you become just as much of a liar as they are. I would check his location on my phone 3 times an hour. I would delete the app off my home screen so my wife wouldn't see. One night he texted me, said he was working late. I was sitting in my car across the street from the casino. I watched him walk in. I sat there for 2 hours. I didn't go in. I didn't call him. I didn't say a single word. I just sat there, and I watched. Every night I would go to bed and I would pray that I was wrong. I would pray that tomorrow he would call me, and he would have an explanation and everything would go back to normal. I started hating him, not for lying, for making me be this person, for turning me into someone who sits in a car in the dark spying on his best friend. I could have confronted him. Any day, any minute, I could have just asked. I didn't. Because once you ask the question, you can never unhear the answer. And I still wasn't ready. My wife told me she was going to her mother's for the night. I said I would stay home. I ordered a pizza. I turned on the game. I tried very hard to be normal. At 1:42 a.m. my phone buzzed. It was his wife. I need you. Please come over. Don't call him. Just come. I sat there for 10 minutes staring at the text. I didn't reply. I put my shoes on. I got in my car. I didn't turn on the radio. I didn't turn on the overhead light. I just drove. They had given me a key to their house 3 years before. Said it was always my house, too. I let myself in the front door. It didn't even make a sound. The house was quiet. I walked down the hall, and that's when I got to the kitchen doorway. The light was on over the sink. He was sitting at the table. There was a stack of cash on the table. More money than I had ever seen in one place. And he was counting it. She was sitting next to him. They were talking about me. He said he never would have believed I was stupid enough to just give him the money. She laughed, said men will do absolutely anything if you make them feel like a hero. And then he said it. We can get another 50 grand out of him before he figures it out. That was the moment. I could have walked in. I could have screamed. I could have flipped the table over. I could have punched him in the face as hard as I could. I didn't. I just stood there. I didn't make a sound. I stood there for 47 seconds. I counted. Then I turned around. I walked very quietly back out the front door. I got in my car, and I drove home. I got home. I sat on my couch. I didn't turn any lights on. I sat there until the sun came up. I didn't cry. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel anything at all. At 9 a.m. he called me. I let it go to voicemail. He called again and again. For 3 days, I didn't answer any of his texts or calls. He showed up at my house. He banged on the door. I sat on the floor on the other side. I didn't say a word. He left after 40 minutes. My wife asked me what was wrong. I told her nothing. I couldn't tell her. I couldn't tell anyone. Because the worst part wasn't that they had lied to me. The worst part was that I had stood there, and I had listened, and I had left. I could have stopped it right there. I could have ended it clean. I could have had the fight. Instead, I chose to know, and to say nothing. That was the sin. Not theirs. Mine. I carried that around every single minute of every day. I stopped going out. I stopped watching the games. I deleted all the pictures. Every time I saw him somewhere, I would turn and walk the other way. He never found out I was there. 6 months later, they bought a new truck. They posted pictures on Facebook. All our mutual friends commented, saying how well-deserved it was. No one knew. No one ever will. It's been 2 years now. I haven't spoken a single word to either of them. No one ever asked why. No one ever really does. People just accept that sometimes friendships end. Most of our mutual friends took their side. That's okay. I don't blame them. I never told anyone what I saw. I never told anyone about the money. I never will. People ask me sometimes why I didn't say anything, why I didn't confront him, why I didn't at least get my money back. I don't have an answer that makes sense to them. Because if I had walked through that doorway, if I had yelled, if I had fought, then it would have been real. It would have been a fight. It would have been a betrayal. It would have been a thing that happened. But because I turned around and walked away, it never happened. Not for them, not for anyone else, only for me. I still wake up sometimes at 2:17 a.m. I still stand in my kitchen doorway, and I still wonder what would have happened if I had just taken one step forward. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away, and sometimes it is the most unforgivable.